All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Belle Holder. Your Master of Ceremonies for this morning, of course, along with Miss Bonnie Leons, who is an ASL interpreter of signature interpretations. Good morning. What we need to do to make sure that we practice inclusion every time. And a little bit of extra time that it takes this morning is exactly for that reason, to make sure that we practice
I just need to interrupt.
inclusion.
The sound just needs to be a little bit louder.
Okay.
Just maybe hold the mic, please.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for bearing with us this morning. So I'll say good morning once again. My name is Belle Holder. Welcome to the media launch of the Deaf Calypso Project concert and exhibition, and also in so many ways needs no introduction, but my co-MC this morning is Ms. Bonnie Leons, ASL interpreter of signature interpretations. Good morning to you all, and good morning to our guest as well, who's with us from the UK. Good morning and welcome to Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, the Honorable Kirk Humphrey, President of Barbados Council for the Disabled, Miss Carrie-Ann Eiffel, and all members of staff of BCD, to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, Mr. Jane Wiltshire, and joining us via live link from the UK, music educator and artistic director of audio visibility, Miss Ruth Montgomery, and Ruth interpreters this morning are Nikki Harris and Azaria Francis. Good morning and welcome to the President of the Barbados Horizon Deaf Charity, Ms. Sandra White-Belgrave, to Education Officer for Special Needs in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Jan Gibbs, from the National Disabilities Unit, Mr. Stevenson Evelyn, founder of the Peter and Jan Booth Family Foundation, Mr. Peter Booth, good morning to you. Project Manager from the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, Ms. Donna Clark. Calypso Project Advisor, Mr. Lionel Smith. Good morning and welcome to Calypso Project Production Lead in Barbados, Miss Alicia Payne Hurley. Founder of the Deaf Heart Project, Shay Greenwich. Director of the Deaf Heart Project, Maud White couldn't be here with us this morning. And good morning and welcome to some of the members of the Barbados Community College Pan Ensemble, their tutor and panist, Mr. Andre Ford. Also joining us this morning, vocalist Miguel White and musicians Trayvon Cyrus and Seth Turton. To all specially invited guests and members of the media, welcome and thank you all so much for being here. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take this opportunity to welcome to the podium, and technically she's the one who's welcoming all of us because we are in purple. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm applause for BCD President Carrie-Ann Eiffel.
Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, the Honorable Kirk Humphrey, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, other specially invited guests, especially the deaf community of Barbados, good morning, and of course, our friends in the United Kingdom. Welcome to the Barbados Council for the Disabled, welcome to Harambe House, and most importantly, welcome to Deaf Calypso. Two words that are not usually synonymous, calypso and deafness. But why is it important for you to be here today at our press launch? Today, the Barbados Council for the Disabled, Audio Visibility, the Peter and Jan Booth Foundation, Deaf Heart Project, Special Case United Kingdom, and all other actors and participants, New Horizon Deaf Charity. We have been working for a very long time to bring this production to you. We've been working with students at the Irving Wilson School, students at the Barbados Community College, the wider deaf community of Barbados, international performing artists that you will hear more about. But why? Why? There is a community that lives among us, a silent community, a community that's often overlooked, a community whose needs are not articulated loudly because they are deaf, because their language is not the common language of all Barbadians, but yet they have a story to tell. They have lives to share. And through Deaf Calypso, a calypso which is a medium of all Barbadians, they say that West Indians are born with a rhythm in their soul. That does not eliminate the deaf community. They too are born with the soul of the Caribbean in their bodies, in their hearts. And through this project, a new medium has opened up for them to share that story, to bring you into their lives, to help all of us to understand, to communicate, to share, to embrace, to remind all of us that there is more that brings us together than divides us. The biggest barrier is our language. And so, through the work that we have started a long time ago with the support of the Maria Holden Memorial Trust and other funders, too numerous to mention on this occasion, we bring to you Deaf Calypso. 2 years ago, our world was invaded by a silent destroyer, which postponed the start of this program. But we were not deterred. We at the Barbados Council for the Disabled remain faithful to the cause, to share with you our lives. The deaf are part of us. They are part of you. And we, the Barbados Council for the Disabled, the deaf community of Barbados, all the organizations under our umbrella, welcome you today to enjoy a new experience, to embrace a new reality, and most importantly, to become a part of the lives of our silent community. Thank you.
Next one.
Thank you so much, Ms. Eiffel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking about technology this morning, and through the joys of technology, we are able to welcome the producer of the Calypso Project. She is currently in the United Kingdom, but of course, she had to be here today. She'll be joining us in Barbados over the next couple of weeks, but today she's here via link up. Ladies and gentlemen, she can feel your applause, I'm sure, and I'll ask Bonnie, so when it comes to applause, so that deaf people, this is what we do. So ladies and gentlemen, by a show of applause, please welcome Ruth Montgomery via link up from the UK. Thank you. Go ahead, Ruth.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Good morning, everyone. I've just to be here today. Thank you, all of you.
So we will resume the program as is. Everybody give Andre a big one of applause. Music shall lead us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I take this Okay, no, I have to that's asking. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity once again to give her a fitting introduction. The producer of the Deaf Calypso Project, coming to us from the United Kingdom, accompanied by her interpreters. Please, by a show of applause, Miss Ruth Montgomery. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to here in UK. I'm Ruth, and I'm the Calypso Project lead. Thank you so much for coming today. The Calypso Project is 4 years in the making, and we have been in constant contact all that time. The project is built on connection, partners and organisation. I've known Peter and Jan Ruth for about 10 years through his friend Ken Carter from Barbados. Ken Carter had a charity in the United Kingdom that brings people together through technology, music and art. I have been inspired by Ken, and through Ken, that's how I met Peter. Through Peter and Ken, I met Bonnie. And then through Bonnie, I met the community, so everything grew from then. Listened to that community, they have always felt they wanted to be connected with the hearing world. My background is that I'm deaf and I'm a professional musician, and I believe that music can bring people together. And this is how the Calypso Project was born. And through the connection and network, we all played together to write an application and do a write an application where we could do a project together with the deaf community, bringing deaf role models, researchers and professionals all coming together. And through the application we felt very strongly about coming together to make this happen. So I'm very proud that we have come this far to be here today, and I'm really, really looking forward to coming very soon to start together. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Ruth Montgomery, and we are very excited, of course, to host her here in Barbados very, very soon. There was a trip, as Ruth mentioned, this has certainly been a journey, and during a previous trip to Barbados, they had the opportunity to meet with a number of people here in Barbados who are very integral to the deaf community, and also in terms of forming those relationships towards producing the Calypso Project. I take this opportunity now, Lionel, if Lionel can bring up the highlight video of when Ruth and her team visited from the UK, as well as Wawa and Sean, who are two American deaf rappers who will be joining us for November's concert presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look.
with that body.
The way you breaking it down, you'll be fooling nobody. I know what you got in mind. Go ahead and work that body. Work, 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 work. Let's go. Work it for me. Work, 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 work. Let's go. Work it for me.
Backside, backside. Gotta get it with it. It's about that time. Get it with a boom, make your body go whoa. Don't get twisted, baby, in your ear. Yep, yep, I lied. Now I'm gonna do this.
My parents, brothers, teachers, and mothers. Go and do the street and the fast brothers. To the country, being boss, release my cream drummers. Big God on the road has quite a long time. He likes the tune. Read the line, thinking not pay any straight all across the city. I honor those who take the brave for me. Word fortunate always crosses my mind. Big hope with bigger hills to climb. When I hang it run, hopefully I not suffer behind.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please put a round of applause for the Deaf Calypso Project. And I'll repeat. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the Deaf Calypso Project, which is coming to Barbados in terms of the performance at the Frank Cullimer Hall and the photography exhibit on Wednesday, November 9th at 6:15 p.m. And I'll take this opportunity to welcome Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, the Honorable Kurt Humphrey. Please give him a warm welcome.
Morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you're hearing me online just fine. Thank you. Good morning to all. Very special good morning to my friend Karianifa and to all the members of the Council for the Disabled and the other bodies that represent persons with disabilities. It is a pleasure to see so many people here who are friends, and I would like to think that I have somehow now become a friend as well. I must tell you that this morning we had my PSs here. We had another commitment on the Sustainable Development Goals, but we both thought that this was way more important than that, and so I'm happy to be here as well. So. I'm sure the United Nations already heard me. They probably have things everywhere. But it really is a pleasure to be here this morning. I must tell you that I also went online to try to figure this out, because I was asking myself, how can somebody who is deaf, to be truthful, I asked myself, how can somebody who is deaf be able to hear music, perform, and sing? And it really fascinated me. So I went online and I looked at how sounds are received in different pitches, and it's just amazing. And so I am excited, and I'm looking forward to this competition for the show on November 9th. And I would invite all of Barbados to come out and be part of this amazing show. I must also tell you that I don't know, I took a shower though. But I must also tell you, I'll ignore it, that the fact is that this tells me that there is much more that we can also do for persons with disabilities. And that perhaps there's something that we need to do in our schools for persons with disabilities, but also for persons who don't have disabilities. So that the shock of hearing that this is possible should be taken from our thinking. That we should have been introduced to this at school. And that in our schools, we now need to have persons with disabilities recognizing that they can be part of this. But Gabby has a song, yes, Calypso is my music, and I'm going to use it. And then he says, Calypso is my weapon, and I'm going to use them. And I believe that if we are able to incorporate the Calypso art form into the telling of the narrative to the persons with disabilities, then we really now begin to make a change. So if we start in the schools, so that people in the schools start to normalize that this is regular. We teach our children differently because there's something we have to do for children with disabilities in Barbados that we are just not doing. And then we bring it into the cultural sphere, the art form, persons with disabilities. We use it to tell the story, not only as a competition and to sing songs, but to tell the story of what is possible. Then we begin a real process of magnificent transformation. And I think I want to see this project in that context as the beginning or the continuation, really, of a magnificent transformation for persons with disabilities in Barbados. At RCPS, and he knows, I know he cares about this as much as I do, for us to get more involved with the community, to become a real partner in the sense that everything persons with disabilities are doing, that they should feel they have an ally in the ministry, either through technical support, financial support, or support from our human resources, just to make ourselves more available to the community. And I offer myself as well as a friend and hopefully as a comrade and an ambassador, and to be able to help bring some of this change. Now, as you are aware, very quickly, though the flares left me, in this trouble with somebody else. But as you are aware, in the ministry, we would have set up an advisory committee for improving the lives of persons with disabilities. And that was not just a talk shop, we just received the initial version of the report. And we're making reviews for that. We also have in our hand the draft legislation for improving the lives of persons with disabilities. And I know that the advisory committee is reviewing it as well. I am hopeful that we will have that legislation before the Parliament by early next year and put in place the laws that will protect people in Barbados. My only fear, and I think it is a real fear, is that we cannot legislate people's capacity to care, and that unfortunately at an alarming rate there are still too many people in Barbados who treat persons with disabilities in ways that are disrespectful and downright shameful. And we hear it all the time, we see it all the time. We had spent over the last few months constant conversation, engaging with the community. And the constant refrain that we had was that, they feel that they're being ill-treated. I heard stories of one boy who said he was stoned by other boys one night because he went to play and, he was different. And, where in the world don't we appreciate diverse things? We go to look at things, we appreciate diversity. It's only among human beings that we seem not to care to recognize diversity is beautiful in itself. And there was another story of my friend Aisha who couldn't reach because her hands are short, couldn't reach the bus. When the bus pulled out, she tried to fold and her hands got tangled. Everybody on the bus laughed. And I asked myself, what kind of crazy world are we living in? That in 2022, this is still the kind of behavior that we're having. So I know we have to locate our work in the schools, we have to locate our work in the communities, You have to be able to extend this art form and other art forms, poetry, drama, and so on. And I mean, to be able to tell our story in every possible way, at every possible avenue. And that we must not rest comfortably until everybody in this country is able to rest comfortably. That fully accessible Barbados must mean something. It must mean more than words. It really must mean something. I will close with it last year. I visited the Autistic Association, had a small gathering at a pool. And again, I would call on the hotel sector, especially when it's out of season, to allow persons with autism to use the pool, persons with disability to use the pool. You know, it gives people a different experience, and it evens in many ways the playing field. But while we were there, the young person told me he's autistic, and he asked me if I see the lights. And I said, what do you mean? He said, at night, your lights are so bright. Do you see the lights? Do you drive with your lights bright? He asked me. I said, no. I mean, if another car is coming, you dim your lights. He told me that when the lights are bright, he sees the lights at night. He can't sleep. So he's up all night because the lights are in his eyes. And that if we can sensitize Barbadians and other people to the things that we take for granted, but that they have such a serious negative effect on other people, then perhaps we can get people to appreciate that they must change their ways and to treat people differently. And a lot of this mindset now is a lot of mindset work. It's not only for persons with disabilities, I must tell you, because Barbadians are just not treating other Barbadians well, period. And we have to do something about that. So a lot of that will be our work. Of course, I've committed myself to the vulnerable groups, whether it's children, persons with disabilities, elderly, people who are living with HIV in this country, any person who is suffering, the very, very poor, then we've committed ourselves to doing better. And I would wish, again, as I close, to commit ministry that I now have the privilege to lead, to being a friend to the community. The National Council for the National Disabilities Unit, they know that I think that they must get bigger, so we need to get more staff and have more work so that they can do more for the community. They know that I feel that the work of the Barbados Council for the Disabled must be associated with the work of the National Disabilities Unit. We must become partners and allies in this fight. There can be no room for egos because we're not serving ourselves. And if we are able to do these things, then I think we can better deliver to the people that we are asked and called upon to deliver. So again, I'm looking forward to being at the concert. It's the 9th. I will be there. Yes, we'll be there. The staff from the MDU will be there, lending our support, and looking forward to a wonderful evening. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Humphrey. And this morning, I'm actually going to do something that Wani doesn't actually do very often, which is simultaneously interpret and speak. But I think it's really important to understand the role that Wani Leonce has been playing in this journey, not only now because of the Calypso Project, but I think that her image, the work that she does, her hands, have been so integral, and she's so well known across Barbados in connection to advocating for and interpreting for individuals who are deaf. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Wani Leonce.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, good morning, everyone. So I'm just looking around to see what can fall and everything. Okay, so this Calypso project is what we call a pop moment. It's finally here. We've been working since 2018, and it is a really big project, but really important. There are a lot of different parts to the project, but a lot of things are connected. Interpreting, education, creativity, art, photography, everything is intertwined. And why is that? There's a word that I hear people using often. It's called intersectionality. That means that you're not just one thing. So there are a lot of things that connect you, and you are not only deaf, but you are a deaf Barbadian who has skills, who wants to do different things. So everything is connected. So my passion for the deaf community, when it started, when I was really young, my dreams and my vision, I see a lot happening, well, a lot of potential to happen through the Calypso Project. How is that? People need to see deaf people in action. People need to see that deaf people can. And as simple as that sounds, it is the truth and the reality that people can. And I know we hear that people can do anything but hear. And it's the truth. We have deaf pilots, and deaf doctors, and deaf lawyers, and deaf everything. So why there's nothing wrong with our deaf community? There's nothing wrong with our Bajan deaf. There's nothing wrong with our Caribbean deaf people, nothing. Their mind and their brains function the same as hearing people. Hearing people aren't that special. We are not that special. I mean, you can't, first of all, you don't know a person is deaf if you just look at them. You don't know. If you start to talk to them and it's like, then you know and understand. But the main focus, yes, November 9th, the big concert, fine. But when the Calypso Project is finished, is what happens after, and what impact and influence can happen after the Calypso Project. And we need to empower our deaf community that they can, and not only that they can, but people will continue to talk and not believe that they can. And they need to really, I mean, literally, they have no noise, but they need to put all that proverbial noise aside and see that they can. I think another important point will be the school. We need to do something with the Irving Wilson School and our deaf students. We need to, we must. And what is not only deaf students, today is about deafness, so we will project that. But our deaf, blind, and our autistic children need to know that they can. One other thing that I want to see happen is the minister said we can't legislate behavior and attitude. And I remember in the National Week of the Deaf, what, about 7, 8 years ago, when a deaf lady came here, Malia, she came here, and we had a big panel discussion. The police were involved, different people were involved, and I was interpreting, but another interpreter was there with me, and we said, you know, people need to understand that deaf people can, but we need to find ways and make sure that people listen. And someone else said, that's true, but some people don't care. That's why you need laws. Because, yes, you can't change attitude, but if you break the law, then you should be punished regardless. So you can have a bad attitude, but you break that law, there should be a penalty for that. You don't have to care, but we will do the caring if you break that law. It should be punishable. And that's why you have law for people who don't care about things. You can't force people, but they should abide by the law. And that's why that advisory committee is really important. All that information that we take and we put to the authorities to say, we want a change. We want to see something different. And on November 2nd, I'll be having a workshop for businesses and professionals about how to include deaf people in your spaces to make them more deaf friendly and people more deaf aware, There's so many things, and deaf people will be there, and deaf people will be involved in so many different things, but I'm not going to say much because I want people to look around the room when they arrive, because they're not going to know who's deaf and who's not. And I want them to see potential. So my final thing is this. What is our responsibility? Our responsibility is to make sure that all these barriers that we have come down. All these false barriers come down. Things that make no sense, they need to come down because we want to make life difficult for people. No, it should not be like that. We need to make sure that everything comes down and falls. Like Babylon, they must fall. And really, no, seriously. And by falling, it means that we now have a responsibility. Before COVID, when I was teaching sign language, I tell my students, you can forget every sign that I taught you. I know there are people here who are involved in my class. I won't say any names, but you can forget your signs. But you must be an ally for deaf people. You must be. You can forget how to sign, but make sure that your role in Barbados society, you open doors for deaf people to make sure that you can say, wait, I'm a nurse. You need an interpreter. Wait, you can't do that. Hold on. Deaf people have rights. Wait, you can't have a police investigation without an interpreter. Wait, I want my students to do that, to know and believe that they can be an ally, a true ally for deaf people. Not just say, I learned sign language. Nah. I want you to stand with, and not just to advocate, but be an ally, which is partnering with that community. Thank you.
Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, Bonnie Leons. Yeah. You know, everything that Bonnie says so resonates, and what's important is the action that needs to come after you feel inspired needs to be followed by action. And this morning I was thinking about today and what happens after this project. And in some of the literature around this project and what happens afterwards is it says deaf and hard of hearing. And it made me realize the vulnerability that we all have. Just by virtue of being born hearing does not mean that you will not experience deafness or being hard of hearing at some point in your life. And it made me realize that that makes hearing people actually way more vulnerable. Because the advantage that somebody has who was born deaf is that they would have been educated and learned this language that they communicate with. So I want to picture somebody who goes deaf at 55 or 60 not having the ability to sign. And that really resonated with me. So, interestingly enough, talking about allies, the BCC community and musicians really have been allies. And this morning, I want to say thanks so much to the members of BCC and other musicians and vocalists who have come on board. I want to say thanks so much to Andre for, we already saw Andre stepped in and be an ally this morning. Thank you. Also want to say thanks so much to Javon. Thank you for being here. And to Miguel White. And interestingly enough, I didn't even realize, and I understand now, that Miguel's cousin is actually Sandra White-Belgrave, who is the president of, she's the president of the Barbados Horizon Deaf Charity. So talking about allies, you never know whose other people's loved ones and friends and families are, and none of us are an island, so we really need to do this thing together. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, this is of course the Calypso Project, right? So please give them a round of applause. Miguel White, Trevon Cyrus, and Mr. Andre Ford.
So we're gonna do some different in the
party, many music, if we can show us I'm just not and we want to come straight to the top, so don't stop this show. Pump me up, baby, oh, oh. You know how to sing it. Pump me up, baby, music, and lift it up, baby. Sounding good, cause you know I'm addicted. That's how I feel. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, yeah. If we vibe, feeling right, rock me steady all night. If we vibe, feeling right, rock me steady all night. I'm saying, the only drum that I'm into you, say. From the country straight to the top, but don't stop this jam. Pump me up, baby, oh, oh, cause you know I'm addicted. Sounding good. And then leave it down there. Oh gosh, stop me on body pumping. And then leave it down there. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, yeah. If the vibe be feeling right, rock me steady all night. If the vibe be feeling right, rock me steady all night. If the vibe be feeling right, rock me steady all night. If the vibe be feeling right, rock me steady all night.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, see, I'm learning, we're all learning, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Miss Sandra White-Belgrave. That was actually her cousin, Miguel, on vocals. And Sandra is the president of the Barbados Horizon Deaf Charity, and she's here to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming here this morning. I know that you all have busy lives, and you all have your plate full, and you have different things on your schedule. So I want to thank you for coming. It really is important to know today and to acknowledge all of you, whether you're deaf, whether you're hearing, or whether you're hard of hearing, and to acknowledge that we all want access and development, and we want to be able to contribute to the lives of everyone, including our own Barbadian society. Whether it's personal or professional, at the end of the day, we are all the same. We want love and want to be loved. We want to be respected. And we want to live a good quality life. I want to thank Carrie Ann Eiffel, and her team here at the Barbados Council for the Disabled. I want to thank them for their continued work and fight and their continued effort to make sure that we have fair access and equality for all. I want to thank Ruth. I thought she was up on the projector, sorry about that. I want to thank Ruth and her team from the UK and the Americans who will be coming to Barbados. All persons who are working here and working behind the scenes to make sure that the Calypso Project, our Deaf Calypso Project, becomes a success. And not just for one performance, but for real change to happen as a result, and that our voices as deaf people will be seen and heard loud and clear by the audience and for people in a wider community. I really want to give a special thanks to Peter and Jambu's Family Foundation, and also the Maria Holder Memorial Trust for their phenomenal work, so that, we will all be able to achieve together. We want to be able to work together, understand together, and be united to show that we can achieve and that we can move mountains. Whatever the situation, whatever situation presents itself. Thank you. To Minister Humphrey and his team at the Ministry for People's Empowerment and Elder Affairs. Thank you for coming today and showing your support and showing your commitment to making sure that the empowerment of all persons are met. We know that this journey is a long one, but we can do it together. Dr. Gibbs, from the Ministry of Education, we want to thank you for your support. We know that educating children makes a big difference. I really want to thank you. Ann Lionel Smith, Shay Greenwich, Andre Ford, Miguel White, Trovon, is it Cyrus? Cyrus, and Seth Turton. I want to thank you. You, Bonnie, the interpreter. You continue to support and work for the people who are deaf and hard of hearing. You show what it means to have equality and access for all, and the importance that our voices are heard in every aspect of society that people hear deaf people. Thank you. I want to thank our wonderful bell holder who emceed today. Thank you so much. I really can't express my feelings and what I want to say to you, but I really want to thank you. I want to give a heartfelt thank you to someone who isn't here this morning. She isn't here physically, but she's always here working to make sure that things happen and to make sure that everything is done right. That's Rosanna Tudor. She works here at BCD. She isn't well, but I want to take this opportunity to wish her better and wish her well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming. And I look forward to welcoming you to Deaf Calypso and our art exhibition on Wednesday, November 9th at 6:15. That's the time. And not in the morning either, but 6:15 in the evening, so be on time. And it's going to be at the Frank Coleman Hall. I am Sandra White-Belgrave, President of the Barbados Horizon Deaf Charity. In the words of Stevie Wonder, music is a world within itself, with a language that we can all understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
And it would be remiss of me, not to mention one thing Sandra forgot, is that she's the recently appointed Vice President of the Barbados Council for the Disabled and the first deaf person to hold that office.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here today. Just a quick photo op. And so, Minister Humphrey, if you can join us. I know if he, oh, it's, oh, perfect, it's there. Yeah, so Minister Humphrey, I will get